Gen Z, Gen Alpha men are conservative based and winning. So, obviously, in the other story I just talked about here, you could say, oh, it's very negative. Men aren't doing well. It's not that men aren't doing well. It's just that men aren't marrying, men aren't paying into the system. And the young men get it. Like they're not fighting the system. They're just saying, okay, if these are the rules that you're setting, if this is the rules, the way that society is going to be, I'm changing. I'm going to find a way to win. I'm going to game the system to work for me. First, I'm going to start off here. This is just an example. I've been screaming for 2, 3, 4 years now, men need to avoid college. If you want to learn something and get hired for something, you can learn by watching free YouTube and Rumble videos. They're all over the place. If you want to learn how to fire up the tractor and use a box blade to flatten your driveway, there's 1,000 videos on it. I know, I just looked at 3 of them before I fixed my driveway because I've never used a box blade on my tractor before, and I don't want to destroy my driveway figuring it out because it still needs to be drivable. So I watched a couple of videos and I fixed it. That cost me $0. You can do the same thing with operating chainsaws or fixing your motorcycle or whatever. You can learn for free. So I've said, get into welding, get into anything other than colleges because they hate you. Well, from MSNBC, and this is just from a couple months ago, the high school juniors with $70,000 a year job offers. These are juniors. They're not even graduated yet. And as you can see, these young men are apprenticing and working on using grinders and welding. Welding instructor Joe Williams teaches students at Father Judge High School in Philadelphia. From Philadelphia, Elijah Rios won't graduate from high school until next year, but he already has a job offer, one that pays $68,000 a year. Rios, a 17-year-old, is a junior taking welding classes at Father Judge, a Catholic high school in Philadelphia that works closely with companies looking for workers in the skilled trades. Employers are dealing with a shortage of such workers as baby boomers retire. They have increasingly begun courting high school students like Rios, a hiring strategy they say is likely to become even more crucial in the coming years. Employers ranging from local transit system to submarine manufacturers make regular visits to Father Judge's welding classroom every year, bringing branded swag and pitching students on their workplaces. When Rios graduates next year, he plans to work as a fabricator at a local equipment maker for nuclear, recycling, and other sectors, a job that pays $25 an hour or $24 an hour, plus regular overtime and paid vacations. He says sometimes it's a little overwhelming, like this company wants you, that company wants you. He says, it honestly feels like I'm an athlete getting all this attention from all these pro teams. Increased efforts to recruit high schoolers into professions such as plumbing, electrical work, and welding have helped spur a revitalization of shop classes in many districts. More businesses are teaming up with high schools to enable students to work part-time, earning money as well as academic credit. These guys are getting apprenticeships. These guys are getting job offers as a junior because the senior students may have already chosen a college, may have already applied, may have already accepted a college, and these blue-collar jobs are saying, well, we missed them. We didn't get them. How can we find them? Go a year lower. Now, this whole article, I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but this whole article is about all these apprenticeships. Both male and some females are going into these apprenticeships because they're finding out that the college thing is not working. They say Constellation Energy, an operator of U.S. nuclear powered plants based in Baltimore, offers maintenance technician and equipment operator roles that are open to high school graduates with without 4-year college degrees and pay as much as 6 figures. These are family-sustaining careers, says the vice president. He said Constellation launched a work-based learning program outside Chicago that invites high school students to shadow workers, etc. So this is the young generation. These are the youngest of the young. Now, I know there's a lot of you guys out there that are a little bit older, and you say, yeah, but they're not coming to me in high school. Well, if you look at companies that are looking for high schoolers and they're willing to pay them 70, 80, 100 grand a year, if you say, I'm willing to take an apprenticeship with your company, and in 6 months, pay me 70 grand a year, pay me 100 grand a year, I'll take an apprenticeship for minimal money, or go to a local college, community college, or one of these places that teach welding, teach electrical, get the basics. You can change. But so I want to put that out there for everybody out there. There's a way, but young Gen Z, this is for Gen Z and Gen Alpha. The youngest generation is seeing college as a scam. They're seeing this paying college debt until you're 50 is a scam. And these employers are getting smart, saying, we're going to go for the young ones. And the young people today are saying, hey, I can walk right in 50, 60, 70, 80 grand a year. And these are jobs that, like I said before, AI is not coming for. Now, eventually, yes, there's, what's the word I'm looking for? There's like supply lines or fabrication lines where they're automated welding. But there's one-off jobs that for welding and repair, diesel mechanics, whatever. The AI it's going to be years until AI can ever replace a diesel mechanic. It's going to be years before they can replace, certain welders, certain electricians, things like that. These are the safe jobs, and Gen Alpha and Gen Z young people are getting it. They understand it. This is from Mike Rowe. Now, if you know who Mike Rowe is, he does Dirty Jobs, and Mike Rowe has come out with a scholarship for young people. Actually, I don't know if it's just for young people, but he came out with a scholarship for young people, and he said, it's growing. And for the longest time, he said, there's not a lot of young people out there that are taking advantage of this. We have a crisis in the country. And now Mike Rowe says, man, we're getting stacked. Like, we are filling up. This is about 3.5 minutes. I'm just going to play it at normal speed. I think it's worth listening to.
Welcome, Mike. I do not want to mire you down into politics. Rather, I want you to extol the virtues of learning a skill or a trade.
I appreciate that, Trey. But let's linger for just a moment on the math of this as well. $54 billion is a big number. And at MicroWorks, for the last 16 years, we've been offering these work ethic scholarships specifically to trade schools, and not for nothing, but we just finished our last enrollment program. As of this morning, we have 10 times the number of applicants that we did a year ago today. Harvard, if you're looking for a silver lining, is making my job easier than it's ever been before, because both Gen Z and their parents are looking around and saying, wait, 150, 200 grand in the hole for the next 10 years for my kid to get trained for a job that doesn't exist anymore on money they're never going to be able to pay back. That's a tough sell. That's the good news. The bad news is that the need mathematically has never been higher. 5 retire, 2 come in. It's been that way for 12 years now. 5 out, 2 in, 5 out, 2 in. You've got huge demographic pressure on the existing labor pool. You also have an unprecedented need for welders and electricians and steam fitters and pipe fitters. The people who make our submarines, Blue Forge Alliance and the Associated Maritime Industrial Base, they called me 3 weeks ago. They're looking to hire 140,000 people. The automotive industry, 80,000 openings, both in technicians and collision repair. Don't even get me started on energy. Hundreds of thousands of jobs. These data centers, Trey, and the race for AI, this is being talked about today like it's the modern day Manhattan Project. And I think it is. And the pinch point is a paucity of skilled labor. The memo has gone out. Big CEOs understand we have to do something to turn this ship around. And Harvard and a lot of elite universities have just stumbled over themselves. The optics are terrible.
I'm going to pause them here for just a second because I just want to jump in on this. I've been screaming forever about AI. And I know you guys, I'm not going to go down the AI train. You guys get tired of me talking about it, but AI is going to take away so many jobs in the next 3 to 5 years. I don't think people understand just how many of them it can. But for now, welding, it's not just an assembly line where you're a welder. You can get a job at certain fabrication shops. A small shop, and when I say a small shop, I'm not talking about these big nationwide companies, but when I lived in Florida, there was a small shop. It was a kind of a mom and pop business, and they made their own trailers. Now these are, metal frame trailers. They'd carry, I don't know, 2,000 or 3,000 pounds worth of things. They weren't a national brand, and they had a fabrication shop in the back where they just hired some local guys. The whole point is, though, that those jobs are safe, and they're demanding and begging and dying for people to go work for them, and they're paying good money to do it. Many times I've said, when I'm done with YouTube, when I'm done with the internet, I'll go back and work a job. I'm not going back to Cisco to be a network engineer. I'll tell you that right now. I'll go out, I'll be a welder somewhere. I'll be a pipe fitter, a steam fitter. I'll do something, anything else. But I want to work with my hands. Because I found sitting behind a desk all day, just working on a computer, I found it boring. I got fat. I get out of shape. I like working with my hands. And I think young people are finding that out. And the fact that he says in 1 year, it's gone up 10 times as many people are now taking these trainings and these job opportunities. That's Gen Z and Gen Alpha seeing what's coming down the road. And they say, we're going to change. These hard times are making strong, smart, based men, and they're taking advantage of it. And these young men are going to do very well in the world, while the older generations and the women that are going to these colleges and getting in debt for their gender study degrees, they're going to be struggling badly. And then when those women look to those young men for the bailout and the, hey, will you marry me? And hey, we'll have a family. Those young men are looking back at them saying, nope, you got a body count. You gave your best years away to somebody else. I demand a trad woman. Or I'm going to save my money. I'm going to manage myself, and they'll be fine. They will be fine.
And if $3 billion is really burning a hole in the administration's pocket, I've got some ideas on how we could invest it.
Mike, while you were talking, it dawned on me that my wife married a lawyer, which is something she's actually never needed. I wonder if she thinks she'd be better off finding an HVAC person, an electrician, a plumber, a welder, because she needs them all the time, and so do lots of other folks. You're telling me that for every 5 retirements, only 2 people come into those fields?
Far be it from me to insert myself into the happy Gowdy home. I don't want to go there, but I am telling you that you can ask anybody. And the conversation today isn't so much about, well, how many plumbers could be employed if everybody got the training they need? The question today is, how long do you want to wait for a plumber? How long does Mrs. Gowdy want to wait for the electrician when she flips the switch and the lights don't come on, or flushes the toilet and the mess doesn't go away? That's how the conversation is starting to tip right now. And a lot of kids are beginning to realize there are opportunities there. We just have to put this thing on steroids. It's only a matter of national security.
I think this is wonderful news. I really do. It gives me hope for Gen Z, Gen Alpha, the next generation that is in high school, that is coming up through. They're being given these opportunities. They're being given these classes. That shop, when I was in high school, shop class was a thing. They had, when I grew up, there was a college. I don't know if I'd call it, it was a trade school. I guess you wouldn't call it a college. It wasn't even a 2-year college. Like, you didn't get an associate's degree when you finished it. I have lots of friends that went to that trade school. I think they call them BOCES, occupational something or other education. But these guys would go there, and they'd go there for 2 years, and they would learn the pipe fitting, the electrical work. And I don't think they paid anything, if I remember right. As a matter of fact, I think they were apprentices, or if they paid something, it was very minimal. It was almost free. And they went and they did that for a year or two instead of college. And then when they got out, they went to go work for, Corning Glass Works, or I'm from New York, upstate New York. They'd go to work for Corning Glass Works or Ingersoll Rand as a boiler worker or something. And they did well. They did well. I talked about this, and I'll leave it with this. And this is from CBN, the Christian Broadcasting Network. And this is from, again, just a month or two ago. Major spiritual shift, why more and more young men are flocking to the church. They say just recently we had 500 people make a profession of faith. We called them forward in public invitations. It was fantastic. I can't remember an Easter where we had a response like that. They say that the pews are becoming filled again. And they said a lot of the young people showing up to Bible clubs and Bible camps and for events, they said, we've never seen anything like this in all my years of teaching. 28 out of the 30 new young Christian kids joining up were boys. I won't go down through the whole thing, but same thing here, quiet revival. How Gen Z is reversing the church decline in the UK. So this isn't just in the United States, it's in the UK. They say church attendance has risen from just 8% in 2018 to 12% in 2024, which is only 4%, but it is a 56% increase from 3.7 million adults to 5.8 million adults. Among 18 to 24-year-olds, church attendance has quadrupled in 6 years, from 4% to 2018 to 16%. Young men, in particular, are leading the shift. 21% now attend church regularly, up from 4%. Now, I don't necessarily want to jump down the rabbit hole of religion because, many of you may not have any religion. You say, well, that's not important to me. But the reason why it is important is because the UK is a country that was founded on Christianity. It is, in all ways considered, a Christian country, as is the United States. Our Constitution, our laws, our justice system, the way that we manage our countries is based on a Christian foundation, as is the UK's. And in many ways, Australia is as well, because they were once originally a penal colony, obviously. Same thing for Canada. Same thing for France. But these are Christian countries. And so for young men in these countries to say, I want to go back to the way the founders intended things. I want to go back to the way things were, whether that's Christianity or just the rule of law Christianity, or the foundation of the family based in Christianity, or the belief of God and Jesus and the Holy Mother and the Trinity and all the things that are traditional. Young men are looking for guidance. They're looking for a greater calling. The fact that greater calling is not the government, it is not socialism, it is not communism, it is not feminism, it is not woke ideology, it is the church. And some of these churches are going woke, but their attendance is actually collapsing. I did a story on this, I think, a month or two ago, where these churches that have brought in the woke pastors and are hanging the rainbow, the rainbow LGHD TV flags, they're collapsing. And it was the Roman or the Russian Orthodox Church that was very traditionally Catholic in Texas. Their numbers are swelling to unbelievable sizes. And it was mostly young-based men that were looking for an answer. To you, I'm not saying religion is the answer or a certain religion is the answer, because I think all men need to follow their hearts when it comes to your belief in the beyond. There's going to be some that are Buddhist and some that are Baptist and some Catholic and some Muslim and whatever. That's fine for the afterlife. But when it comes to countries and our law systems and the way we govern, Christianity is the way most Western countries that are great, that are doing so well, where all these immigrants want to come to, and change everything, well, they're actually great because they were formerly very strong religious Christian countries. And so young men going back to Christianity, which is the founding of many of our countries, and young men going back to wanting traditional families. And if a woman shows up with a high body count or children from a previous relationship, or she wants to be a boss bitch and she doesn't want to stay at home and take care of the kids, these young men are saying no thank you to these women. Now, will the young guys date them? Yeah. Will they shag them? Yeah. Will they marry them? Will they support them? Will they take care of them? No. That's what's changing. Young men are becoming very conservative. They're becoming very based when it comes to the work world, when it comes to finding religion, when it comes to their views on the family, and they are winning. The ones that choose to win. Now, there are some that are going to tap out and they say, I'm just going to smoke J, I'm going to smoke doobs all day, and I'm going to hang out playing Xbox with my friends, and I'm going to collect money from the government. Yeah, that's fine. There's going to be a portion of them that do that. But I don't really believe they're the ones that want a good future for themselves. I don't believe they're the ones that want to succeed.